is The View from HAS, a comprehensive look at the programs and people that make Channel 11's picture a welcome guest in thousands upon thousands of homes across Kentucky and southern Indiana. Your host is veteran WHAS announcer Jim Walton.
The View from HAS is one that's taken us over 15 years and 2 tower sites to develop. We'd like to introduce you to some of the people and the programs who help to make that view a good one. Now, one of the shows that we have a hand in producing comes from a mighty big studio called Churchill Downs.
And Mr. Briggs looks like he can't hold on as the scoundrel has got it. And they are coming now to the top of the stretch, and the scoundrel is the leader, with Northern Dancer whipping and driving to the outside, and Hill Rise comes right with him. So it's Northern Dancer that's got the lead, and Hill Rise, as Shoemaker says, let's go, but it's Northern Dancer that's still out there with the lead, and it's Northern Dancer out there, and Hill Rise is coming to him now, but he hasn't got him yet, and it's Northern Dancer. The scoundrel hangs on to third, Roman Brother and Quadrangle after that, but it's the Dancer, and here comes Hill Rise whipping and driving, the little horse and the big horse, and we're coming to the wire, and it is Northern Dancer that wins it by an X.
Here's the Kentucky Derby, just one of the dozens of races that WHAS televises each year. But here's the real expert, our sports director, Cawood Ledford.
The Kentucky Derby is just one of the stories we report on WHAS Sports. Sport Rates at 6 o'clock each evening is as old as the station itself. And Kentuckiana viewers have learned to rely on WHAS Sports at 11:20 for the late scores and tomorrow's headlines. Charlie Maston and I make up the only 2-man, full-time sports staff in the entire area. And our reporting is supplemented by interviews and film. Each February, 10,000 track and field fans converge on Louisville's Freedom Hall to watch the stars from all over the world participate in their specialties. WHAS cameraman Ted Koehler joins the spectators in following the Olympic champions. Other Olympic performers, like pretty Muriel Grossfeld, take advantage of the marvelous indoor arenas in our town, like this gymnastics exhibition. 18,000-seat Freedom Hall draws the top attractions. And in Kentucky, that means basketball. The WHAS sports cameras are there to record this exciting moment, whether it's a high school championship or a national college title. And sports fans like those close ones. Hoop hysteria is almost a way of life among sports fans in Kentuckiana. We have our own national stars, too, like Bobby Nichols, present champion of golf's PGA and World's Championship tournaments. Bobby was the winner of our annual award to the Kentuckiana Sports Man of the Year. Bobby's a frequent visitor to our sports programs. He shared his thrills with us and recently took some good-natured kidding after soaring to a 90 in one of his tournament rounds.
It was just one of those days, and honest to goodness, I really tried, and I ended up with 90. I think I know it's the highest I've ever scored in a tournament, and it's kind of embarrassing to turn it in, but when I looked around and saw a few of the other scores, I felt like I wasn't by myself.
With fall comes King football. Highlights of key games involving teams in our area are highlights of WHAS television sports programs. This thrilling dash through the mud Thanksgiving won the day for Male High School over Manual, one of the oldest annual high school rivalries in existence. Each week, we show highlights from Indiana University's games and the key plays from each Saturday's football war waged by the University of Kentucky, like this game-winning toss. Local Golden Gloves competition produced heavyweight champion Cassius Clay. In Miami for his title fight, we recorded this story.
Cassius, how will you fight Sonny Liston?
Well, Cawood, my strategy will be to move a lot of fast moving, in and out, hit and not be hit, a lot of dancing. Let me call my assistant trainer over here, Bodine, and he'll tell you. Bodine, yes. What's going about strategy? How to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Hey, rumble, young man, rumble. Hey, that's what we're going to do. You just heard an example. He's an inspiration. That's the Cassius Clay pep holler.
Cassius has given us some interesting programs. There are many sides to this amazing young man. He can play the buffoon, but he can have his serious moments, too. His membership in the Black Muslims provokes serious discussion from Cassius Clay.
I believe the most popular athlete on the planet Earth. I just got a telegram. Next month I might have to go to Jakarta, someplace between China and Japan. It's a country where all of the Islamic officials of the whole world, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, the Sudan, Egypt, and Bethlehem, Jerusalem, all of these fellows are going to meet around a table, and they want me there. And
Well,
this has made me really a big fella, and then it lets the people know that I'm not in a lot of these things that's happening as far as fights and forced integration. And they look at me and say, well, this fella, you don't worry about him. He's not like that.
If it involves people, it involves WHAS Sports. Local and national, we go and we do. Reporting and interpreting the news from the exciting world of sports.
Jim, we're quite proud here at WHAS of our new staff, and we feel you'll have cause to join us in that prideful feeling when you know a little bit more about our staff. These are the men who are seen most often on Channel 11, the faces and voices of WHAS television news. Here's David Dick, the morning man at WHAS News. Dave reports the news at 1 o'clock on Midday Summary, which features the latest in local news developments on film. Fred Wiche anchors our 6:15 report, a complete and comprehensive film report on today's happenings in Kentuckiana. Fred is well known in city and county government offices, where he spends much of his day gathering news firsthand. Doug Curry checks in at 11 p.m. daily with a wrap-up of world and local news events, which includes videotape of significant national news and the latest local events on film. Doug, just another in the WHAS staff of news specialists. On the weekends, Kentuckiana residents tune in Don Schultz for the continuation of the comprehensive news coverage that has made WHAS news coverage a synonym for reliability in area homes. As with every member of the WHAS TV news staff, Don's only job is news. As I said, these are the faces and voices of WHAS News, the ones seen most frequently. Others who check in with their reports on the stories they have covered include Bob Johnson, a frequent visitor to the 6:15 news set. Bob goes where the story is to bring back first-hand reports for the Kentuckiana audience. Bud Harbsmeier, besides shooting many of the stories that are included in our daily newsreel, frequently reports on the stories he covers with his camera. Larry Schwartz is another reporter well known to Kentuckiana who, like all WHAS newsmen, gets his facts on the scene and brings back a fresh, up-to-date report of the news as it happens. The daily newsreel is and has been a standard fixture of WHAS News since the station went on the air. It is important to remember that for the first 14 years, WHAS News produced the only TV newsreel in the market. This unmatched experience continues to show today in every comparison. From the time Ted Koehler takes the news film from the processor, and he processes about 35,000 feet of newsreel a month until it's ready to put on the projector chain, it's handled only by newsmen, professionals in the field whose only job is news. Bob Eaton and Joseph Angadi do the bulk of the news film editing, but other members of the 12-man WHAS news staff are trained and capable of editing the film when the occasion demands. This experience, training, and professionalism shows up every day in the finished product. WHAS Daily Newsreel captures the hard news with a vividness and completeness unmatched in the market. Through the years, WHAS has become synonymous with excellent news coverage. Kentuckiana residents know when they tune their television dial to Channel 11, they'll get the best, the most complete, the most comprehensive, the most accurate coverage of today's news today. This is the real test of performance, and WHAS has proven itself by consistently outstanding coverage of hard news. An added extra to WHAS television news coverage is the full complement of news specials, WHAS reports, in-depth coverage with a sharp focus on a particular community problem. There's the weekly WHAS What's Your Question program featuring a prominent newsmaker to answer the viewers' questions. The political debates during campaigns pioneered by WHAS in Kentuckiana in 1952 and the special Eye on Frankfurt series during General Assembly sessions are just another example of news leadership. Electioneering, while a national pastime every 4 years, is a year-round occupation in Kentuckiana, and area residents take their politics seriously. WHAS News is serious about its political coverage, too, and area residents are taken by camera and live on-the-scene reports wherever political news is being made. Now, that could be the National Governors Conference in Glacier National Park, Montana in 1960 or in Cleveland, Ohio in 1964. It could be the nominating conventions in Chicago or Los Angeles in 1960 or San Francisco or Atlantic City in 1964. And the nearby state capitals in Frankfurt and Indianapolis are as familiar to our viewers as they are to our reporters. We could go on with more statistical information about the size of our stringer system, several dozen photographers scattered throughout the two-state area who shoot news film for us, about the number and description of the various pieces of technical equipment necessary to process electronic journalism, about a management committed to the very best in public service, and then backs up that commitment with a realistic budget. But the time has come for us to thank you for your time, say so long, and remind you that WHAS television news can be seen at 1 o'clock, 6:15, and 11 p.m. daily, and 3 times each weekend. Jim?
Thank you, Jay. Now meet Phyllis Knight, hostess of Small Talk and the Louisville Market's outstanding female personality. Phyllis is one of America's few two-time winners of McCall's Golden Mike Award, and she has enough regional awards to paper her home. On Small Talk, Phyllis interviews actors, astronauts, ambassadors, the whole range of interesting people. And here she chats with Dr. Norman Vincent Peale.
Things, Phyllis, that I ever learned in my life, and I can remember the exact day that I learned it. I was sitting on a Lehigh Valley train years ago in the dining car, and I had a book there by Frank Laubach. Now, Frank, in my opinion, is one of the greatest saints of our time. And he said we got to learn to pray in fractional moments. In other words, take the fractional time of the day and use that for prayer. You don't just say, I'm going to take 10 minutes and go apart and have a prayer in the morning. That's good. I'm for that. But say you're in the taxi cab. Well, you've got a little time to wait between your before you get to your destination. Talk to the Lord. Suppose you're sitting in a dentist's office and the dentist isn't ready for you yet. You pray. And believe me, I would pray if I was there.
Most guests come to the studio, but once in a while we just have to have fresh air. Small Talk goes to the excitement of locking through the McAlpin Dam and seeing how a dredge moves an island. We hit the heights with a view from the top of our new TV tower. Small Talk ranges from hearing an alcoholic tell about life on Skid Row to hearing Ethel Waters sing to hearing the fantastic Carol Channing tell how the water in Boston made her hair fall out. Yes, sometimes we laugh and sometimes we cry, but always we make Small Talk a reflection of thoughts and ideas and people. It is truly a mirror of the community.
Small Talk, the feature section of WHAS TV's nightly television journal, Focus. In addition to Small Talk, our Focus strip includes Sport Rates, Weather Vane, WHAS and CBS News. In a fast-moving hour and a quarter, Focus viewers can be well informed about every major happening from Louisville to Laos.